Hi, I'm Kirsten, the Ectopic Pregnancy Support Podcast host. Thank you for listening, and I hope these stories and conversations bring you comfort and help you feel less alone. Enjoy this episode. Hi, Taylor. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the space to have this conversation with you.
Of course. Thank you for being open to sharing your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I first found out I had an ectopic, there wasn't, a whole lot of stories out there. I listened to your podcast. That was one of the only places I could find women sharing their stories with something so specific as an ectopic pregnancy. I mean, there's a lot of information and stories about pregnancy loss in general, I feel like, but ectopic specific, not so much.
Right. I'm glad that you found the stories the women on the podcast have shared. I'm glad that you found comfort in those.
Yeah, it was very, very therapeutic to listen to all the women's stories. So I hope that my story can be the same for other women.
It definitely will. So take me back to when you found out you were pregnant and the journey following.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take us back a little bit further. So my husband and I got married when we were quite young. I was 25 and he was 24. So we knew right away that, we'd want to wait a little bit before having children. So right around like our 5-year wedding anniversary, we went off birth control and we're like, okay, we'll kind of see what happens. And it took a while for my body to kind of regulate with my cycles and hormones and things. But we did get pregnant in April of last year. So April of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, I remember the day very clearly. I knew pretty much right away in the day that I was probably pregnant because I felt very weird. I had never been pregnant before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely a lot of like the symptoms were things that I hadn't experienced before. I went to a morning workout class like I typically would at 6:30 in the morning. And during the workout, I was just extremely out of breath and like running really hot and kind of dizzy. And I'm like, something's not right. Am I pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And so I go home, take a pregnancy test, and there's a second line. It's super, super faint, but there's a second line. And everything I had heard up to that point was if there's a second line, it's a positive.
Mm-hmm.
So I show my husband Josh right away, and he's like, I don't know, this test seems a little suspicious. This line doesn't look very legit. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go get one of those clear blue tests that have the actual words on it, pregnant or not pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that during my lunch break on that Monday and came home, took the test. It says pregnant. So
Wow.
Yeah, I FaceTime Josh right away, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we're pregnant. It's actually happening."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That first test that you ever have where it shows a positive result is just, I mean, especially if it's something you've always dreamed of,
Mm-hmm.
it's just such a, it's unexplainable, really.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I had always wanted to be a mom and always wanted to be pregnant. And so then to actually take the test and see it say I'm pregnant. It is. It's very unexplainable.
Mhm.
It's a lot of emotions all at once, and then I think you kind of second guess yourself, like, wait, is this real?
Right,
Am I actually pregnant?
right,
Yeah.
right. So at that point, how long were you guys trying for?
We were trying, I mean, I went off birth control in August of the previous year,
Okay.
but we didn't like actively start like tracking my cycle and like trying until the start of the new year. So
A good few months.
yeah, I would
Mhm.
say, 4 months for my cycle to kind of regulate, and then another 4 months of actively trying. So I'm 31 years old, so I feel like that's probably pretty typical, I guess,
Yeah.
average. I mean, statistics are a bizarre thing to me, especially after going through this like topic. I'm like, statistics don't really mean much. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was pretty average.
hmm Okay, so that Monday you find out that you are pregnant. What is the week or weeks like following that?
Yeah. Yeah. So we were pretty excited to tell people right away. So the first day we kept it to ourselves, and then throughout the week we kind of had told some close family and friends. I FaceTime my two best friends. Josh FaceTimed, or I think he maybe just texted his two best friends. I told my mom and told Josh's parents, told my little brother. Um,
It's so hard not to share when you're so excited. You know,
yeah, yeah,
you just want to scream it from the rooftop.
yeah, yeah. I felt like it was like physically impossible to hold the
Mhm.
news in.
Yeah.
I know Josh kind of wanted to wait a little bit longer to tell people, but I was just like, I can't. I'm so excited. Like,
Mhm.
I can't wait. And this baby would have been first grandbaby for my mom and for Josh's parents.
Mhm.
So we were
It's a
just really
full circle.
excited to share that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Rightfully so.
Mhm.
So, did you start having any abnormal symptoms at the
I
beginning then?
did. Yeah. So um, we found out on April 28th that I was pregnant. And then roughly like 2 weeks later on Mother's Day, ironically enough, I start spotting.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate day to have that start, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a good day for that to start. So,
no.
did you start Googling spotting during early pregnancy, or did you
Yeah.
reach out to your doctor?
Yeah, I was still very optimistic at this point. I did start, kind of Googling what spotting this early on might mean, and it can be completely normal.
Mhm.
Is
It can.
the tricky part is
It
it can
is.
be completely normal, and it was, very light spotting too, and
Hi, Kirsten here. Sorry to pause the episode, but I want to share a brief ad all about therapy. Rather than trying to reinvent yourself this season, what if you took the time to understand how you already are? Most resolutions don't fail because we lack discipline. They fail because real, meaningful change is built slowly through awareness and consistency. Therapy helped me in more ways than you can imagine after my ectopic pregnancy. A big breakthrough was when I was ready to try to conceive again. My therapist helped me understand and unravel how hope and fear can coexist. It's life changing to get insights from an expert. If you're thinking about therapy this year, do it. BetterHelp is a trusted sponsor. Joining their service was the best decision I've ever made. BetterHelp will match you with a therapist based on your preferences, their own clinical experience, and over a decade of matching expertise. Make your mental health and growth a positive focus this year. Go to betterhelp.com/ectopic or choose Ectopic Pregnancy Support during sign up and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Thanks for listening to the ad. Let's get back to the episode.
So I was pretty optimistic at this point, not really thinking too much of it.
Right. So within the time from when you tested positive and the spotting occurred, did you have to get any sort of lab work done to confirm the pregnancy or the health of the pregnancy?
I hadn't up until this point. So my original plan was to go through a midwife, and they don't really do much like tracking early on. So I wasn't scheduled to have an ultrasound for quite some time down the road.
Okay.
In hindsight, I mean, I guess if I would have started with the OB route, I still probably wouldn't have had too many labs that early on, because I was only about maybe 6.5 weeks when the spotting occurred. So it was early.
Right. And I don't really know what's considered quote unquote normal once someone tests positive at home with pregnancy. I know for myself, because of my ectopic, and when I fell pregnant with my rainbow baby, I had to get labs done right away just to confirm if the pregnancy was viable or not. I want to say you at least go get your lab done once just to confirm that you truly are pregnant, but I'm not quite sure. But that's why I asked. I wondered if you started getting lab work done to see if your numbers were doubling.
Yeah, and it might depend on the provider too, how soon they want to have lab work done. And especially if you have a history of, having an ectopic, they're going to check sooner. So yeah, if we fast forward, I guess just 2 days, on Tuesday following Mother's Day, the spotting intensified and some cramping started to go along with it. So that is when I did call my doctor's office.
Okay.
Yeah. And they recommended going to urgent care, which I at the time felt was a bit of an overreaction. Because again, at this point, I was still very optimistic, thinking that urgent care was probably a little unnecessary. But, the nurse on the phone reassured me that, worst case scenario, we'll just get, an early ultrasound, get some blood work, make sure things are progressing the way that they should. So I start driving to urgent care. It was later in the day. I think that's why they recommended urgent care, because I think I called them at like 4 p.m. and they wouldn't have had time. Yeah. So I start driving to urgent care. I call my husband Josh, and I call my mom and let them know I'm on the way, and they both offer to meet me there, which is very, very sweet. And I also at this point thought it was very unnecessary. Like, this is just a check. I didn't think I needed someone there, but in hindsight, now I'm glad that they both were there for me.
When you were driving there, or, within the days between Mother's Day and Tuesday, during that time, did you think about the possibility of a miscarriage, or more specific, an ectopic? Was that
not at all? No, it didn't even. I don't know if it was like the power of positive thinking, like maybe subconsciously I knew that could be an option, but I wasn't even going to let myself go there mentally.
Right. Did your doctor mention anything about an ectopic when they referred you to go to urgent care?
No, no,
Okay.
no. They just said, it's probably best to get it checked out. It
Mhm.
could be nothing. Cramping and spotting can be normal.
Mhm.
But no, they didn't give any sort of indication of, this could be an ectopic pregnancy.
And that's probably a good thing so that you
Yeah.
didn't spiral prior to your visit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it would have been helpful to know ahead, while I was driving or not. Probably not. It wouldn't have changed the outcome.
Right.
Um, it just would have maybe been a, more emotional drive to the urgent care. So it was
Mhm.
probably, fine that I didn't know at that time that
Mhm.
this, could happen.
Right. So when you arrived to urgent care, did they check you right away? And I mean, how did you find out that this was an ectopic?
Yeah, they were pretty quick with things. I was able to get a room pretty much right away, and then they had ordered blood work
Mhm.
to check my HCG levels, and they ordered an ultrasound.
Okay.
So I went and did both of those. Um, Blood work was pretty, simple and straightforward. The ultrasound was hard because that's where I found out that
Mm.
this was not gonna work out. This was not a viable pregnancy.
Oh. So I imagine they told you while they were doing the ultrasound, or did they do it, leave the room, and then come back to
Yeah, so they didn't say, but I could tell from, looking at the ultrasound that, there's no there's no gestational sac. There's nothing in the uterus. And I think she did say that, we can't say we can confirm when there's a baby, but we can't say when there's not. And she didn't say there was a baby.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. It's such a heartbreaking moment when that occurs. When I had mine done, it was very similar. They just couldn't find
mhm.
anything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they couldn't confirm what was actually going on.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, during the ultrasound, I had a lot of pain on my right side.
Oh.
And I've had internal ultrasounds before checking for, cysts and things like that. But yeah, during the ultrasound, there was quite a bit of pain on the right side. Um, and then I'd get the results back from the ultrasound, and they mentioned that there's a mass adjacent to my right ovary, but they couldn't say at that time what that was.
Okay. Wow. What were you feeling in the moment?
Um, I was devastated.
Mhm.
I was really sad. I think I always knew in the back of my mind that, pregnancy loss does happen. I just didn't think it would happen to me. I think a lot of women feel that way going into pregnancy, especially if a first pregnancy. You kind of have those rose-colored glasses on. Yeah, I was really sad. I was really It was really, really sad.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you never think it's going to happen to you. And when it does happen to you, it's it's equally terrifying and sad at the same time. Um
Yeah.
and also I'm so sad that you were by yourself too.
Oh, I should mention that Josh was in the room with me.
Oh, he ended up meeting
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Well, I'm glad that he was there with
Yes.
you. That
Yep.
that makes me feel better because I
Yep.
can't imagine getting the news alone. And I
Yep.
know that has happened to many women, and I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I think that moment would be hard
Mhm.
to get that news alone. Yeah, Josh was with me in the room, and my mom was in the waiting room, so they did both make it to urgent care, which
Okay.
was nice to have them there for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really nice. I thought maybe they didn't end up coming because you said, "Oh, no, no, it'll be fine. I'm just getting checked."
Yeah, yeah. No, they did end up coming despite me saying it was unnecessary, but it turned out to be really helpful to have them there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really sweet that your mom came too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she definitely didn't have to, but
Mhm.
obviously having support is always good.
It is.
Mhm.
So what happened after that?
Yeah, so after that we go back to meet with the urgent care doctor. And, he says that, we can't confirm for sure what is going on. He mentioned the possibility of a dating error. Maybe we can't find the gestational sac because you're earlier on than you thought, which I knew wasn't a possibility just because of how I am with tracking my cycle. And I'm like, nope, I know when, I would have had my period and we would have conceived and how far along I would have been.
Mhm.
But he thought that could be a possibility. And then didn't say like miscarriage or ectopic, but just a loss could be a possibility as well. Um, and then he did order labs to be done um, every 48 hours after that to check to see, you know, what's going on.
Mhm. Okay. After you met with him, did you just go home then?
I did, yeah. So Josh and I had driven separately because I was coming from home and he was coming from work, and we were chatting on the phone um, on the drive home, and we were, trying to make sense of what happened. And at that time, I really just felt like it was my fault. Like I did something wrong. I had to have done something wrong to cause this. And I was just like sobbing on the drive. And he's like, Taylor, you have to pull over. You cannot drive in this state. So we pulled over, which thankfully happened to be close to a Five Guys. So we were able to get burgers. So we
I
got burgers and
Yeah.
shakes.
Sometimes you just need some good French fries and
Mhm.
burgers to
Yeah.
not numb the pain, but have some comfort. It's
Yeah.
comfort food.
Oh, absolutely. And I had been eating like really healthy up until that point with um trying to conceive and then getting pregnant. And I'm like, I'm just going to have a burger. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not pregnant anymore. I know the doctor is holding on to hope that it could have been a dating error, but I knew that, this is not going to be a viable pregnancy. So I'm going to have a burger.
Yeah, as you should. Isn't it wild that when we know in our hearts that something's not right, that tends to be the outcome, like with so many women that I've spoken to, in addition to my own story, you just know deep down that something's off, and
Yeah.
you just know your body so well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely like an intuition a lot
Yeah,
of
there
women
is.
have, surrounding pregnancy and loss and just normal like day-to-day health stuff. But yeah, I was like, well, this isn't working out, so we're gonna get burgers. So we got burgers and we ate them at home. We brought them home. We kind of just enjoyed them at home.
So did anything happen leading up to your 48-hour blood draw, or was everything fine and you carried through to get your blood work done?
Yeah, everything was pretty normal. So I went and got blood work done. The 48 hours after. So this would have been Thursday morning. And comparing the two levels, I think Tuesday when I went to urgent care, it was like 1100 HCG. And then 2 days later, roughly 48 hours later, might have actually been closer to 36 because I think the Tuesday one I took in the evening and then the Thursday one was in the morning. It was 1200. So not going up the way that you would need it to go up in a viable pregnancy. So that was just kind of confirmation that, okay, yep, this, what I knew to be true was true.
Right. I imagine your doctor called you or sent you a message through your chart once they received those results.
Yeah, so my OB that I've seen forever, I don't know if she was out of town or on a conference, something. She wasn't available. So someone was filling in for her. And they ended up calling me Thursday evening, and it was like around 6 p.m. And at this point, I had kind of convinced myself that this was likely a miscarriage. Like, it's probably why they didn't find a gestational sac. So I was a little alarmed when she called me at 6 p.m., which is after her, work hours, to tell me to go to the emergency room.
Oh, wow. Not even like, let's wait it out. Let's test him again in another 48.
No, she said you should go to the emergency room immediately. This is classic ectopic.
Wow. That's actually really surprising to me that she was so certain.
Yeah. Kind of looking back on it, I don't know. I mean, because it could have been other, there's other explanations for your HCG going from 1100 to 1200, but she was pretty certain that this was an ectopic pregnancy.
Wow.
And I kind of tried to get more information from her, like, could I wait till the morning? Like, it's 6 p.m. I need to eat dinner. I want to go to bed. I don't want to go to the emergency room. Yeah. Like, can we deal with this in the morning so I'm not at the ER until super late? But she was like, no, you should go tonight. So
wow. Did you pack your bags right away to go?
Yeah. So I think I ate dinner, and then Josh was home, so I, told him what they were recommending, and um, called my mom. She again offered to come with, and bless her heart, she did. She joined us, went to the ER. So she actually drove over to our house. She lives about 20 minutes from us. So, and then we all ended up going to the emergency room, and I get there and check myself in, and I'm seen like immediately.
Wow.
And the ER was super busy too. Like there was, a lot of people there that had other health things going on, but I guess they thought that this was pretty urgent.
They must have been waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So we did the labs first. So they took another lab. And I should mention at this point, I was bleeding pretty significantly, which I think is part of the reason why I thought it was a miscarriage, because I'm like, okay, yep, I'm going to pass everything. I'm bleeding a lot. I remember them saying that if you soak through like a pad an hour, that's like super urgent. And I wasn't soaking through a pad an hour, but maybe like a pad every 2 hours.
Okay.
So it was, a significant amount of bleeding.
Yeah, still very significant.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, get to the ER, we do the labs, and then they want me to do another ultrasound. And I was like, really? I just did an internal ultrasound 2 days ago. Can't you use the images from that one? They're like, no, we need to do an updated ultrasound. So we go and do the updated ultrasound. And just as I'm walking in, the ultrasound tech was like, you have an ectopic pregnancy. And I was like, how do you know?
Right.
But she looked at the images from the previous ultrasound, and she was like, I don't know how this got missed. I'm so sorry. This is classic ectopic. Whoever, interpreted these results, I don't know how they missed it.
Wow. That's wild. I mean, were you internally bleeding at this point?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no
Okay.
internal bleeding. But just the mass near my right ovary was very clearly the baby.
Wow. That's really sad that it was missed that first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know originally I was pretty like frustrated that it was missed. I mean, looking back on it, it's like, we're all human. Maybe the person interpreting the results was newer at their job. They didn't know. If they knew, they would have said. So frustrating that was missed, but it happens.
Well, and it could have been I don't know, maybe the doctor that you saw at urgent care just hasn't seen as many ectopic pregnancies as the doctor you saw in the ER.
Yeah.
Maybe
That can definitely be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of variables at play, but yeah. Anyway, it was missed the first time, but I mean, thankfully, I was there 2 days later. I got the follow-up ultrasound at the ER. She was able to get some better images of what was going on near my right ovary and fallopian tube, and it was really helpful to see those images. So I could just, process what was going on in my body. Like the image was very clearly like a baby's little head and little body right by my right ovary. it was helpful to see that and be able to like process what was going on.
Yeah, I bet. How many weeks were you at this point?
I was about 7 weeks
Okay.
along.
Okay. Wow, you could see the baby silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that you almost felt better seeing it visually because I'm a visual person as well. And I feel like that would bring me a little bit of peace
Mm-hmm.
rather than the unknown of not seeing it or truly not knowing where it was in your body.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely was helpful to visually be able to see what was going on.
Helpful, but heartbreaking at the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also very, very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted this pregnancy and this baby so bad, and it wasn't gonna work out.
Yeah. So what was the plan of action at this point?
Yeah, so they sent us back to the waiting room. And while I was sitting there in the waiting room with my mom and Josh, I got the lab results like pretty much right away. So my HCG then bumped up to 1300. So it was, yeah, about 1100 on Tuesday, and then Thursday morning 1200, and then Thursday evening 1300. Um, so then we got back to a room, and the emergency room OB talked to me about options. I could have surgery, which I was not wanting, or I could have methotrexate.
Mhm.
And she asked me a whole bunch of questions, I think just to rule out dating air, because they don't want to obviously go in either surgically or give you methotrexate if there's any chance that this is a viable pregnancy. So she asked all her questions, and it was determined that I'd be a good candidate for methotrexate. So it took a while to get the methotrexate doses because it had to be administered by nurses that worked with like cancer patients, I guess. I'm not really sure why that is, but they were busy. So I think around 1 a.m., technically Friday morning, I was able to get the methotrexate doses.
Okay. Did you get the option of where they were injecting them?
I did not.
Okay.
And I didn't realize until after the fact that, you could ask for something different. I guess, I mean, I should have maybe known that, your body, your choice, right? You can always ask for something different if you're not comfortable with what they're offering. But they're like, nope, it has to go in your butt. There's no other option. And at this point, I think I just felt like, well, I just have to do whatever they tell me to do because they know, I don't know. So I got two shots.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's normal for them to break the dose up into two because it's such a large dose. I have heard though that some women have gotten it with just one injection, but that could be outside of the US. And, there's just different rules and regulations.
Yeah. And it might, I don't know if it partially depends on body weight at all,
Maybe.
too. I guess I don't know, but I had to get two.
Yeah.
Didn't get to decide where they were. And then we had to wait an hour after that to make sure I didn't have any adverse reactions. So by this time it's 2 a.m. And I'm like, I just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what was going through your head when you received methotrexate and were waiting around for an hour?
Yeah, it was hard to just like wait there. I think I was mostly just like trying to figure out how this happened, like what caused this. I was kind of spiraling, like what, if I would have done XYZ, could that have prevented this? I think, especially in a hospital setting, I feel like people's heads can really go to all sorts of different places.
Totally. I wish it wasn't the case, but it's so normal to look back and figure out what you did to have this happen to you. It's so sad that we automatically think that we did this to ourselves. And I wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now looking back, I know like these things just happen. Like, and oftentimes you can't explain it.
Was there anything specific that you thought about that you did that made this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little worried about endometriosis.
Okay.
Not that someone necessarily causes endometriosis, but I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have endometriosis? Should I have tried harder to get a diagnosis? Could I have prevented this from happening if I would have had a diagnosis ahead of time?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a diagnosis today of endometriosis, so I don't know if that is what caused it, but I mean, regardless, like it wasn't my fault, whatever caused it, and it just could have been a fluke too.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciated what my doctor told me because I would spiral and think, oh my gosh, it was this workout that I did this day that caused this. And she told me multiple times, Kirsten, there's nothing you could have done to prevent this. This is just something that happens naturally in the body. And nothing you did this. And I mean, I just said the example of exercise. That was my thought to why this happened. And my friend Francine, I've had her on the podcast, and she thinks back to a night that her and her husband had a movie night, and she ate a whole bag of Sour Patch candy. And she's like, it was the Sour Patch that did it.
That's what did it.
But you just, it's so natural to think back and think to those even silly things as to why this happened. But anyone listening to this right now, there's nothing that you did. We didn't do anything.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong.
Nope. So by 2:00 in the morning, were you finally cleared to go home?
I was, thankfully. Okay. So got home, just given the time of night it was, didn't get very much sleep that night. But woke up and I remember looking out my window and seeing something that was really healing and peaceful for me. there was like a reflection on our blinds that resembled, or at least in my mind, resembled a woman handing her baby to like an angelic type figure.
Wow.
And I just felt a lot of peace with that. Like, okay, my baby is safe.
Aw, that's really sweet that you saw something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It brought me a lot of peace.
I bet. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. Did methotrexate work for you then?
It did. It
Okay.
did. So I had some pretty significant, cramping, a little bit of nausea with the methotrexate, um, but it worked. So I had to do the typical, follow up blood draws. I think originally they were maybe every 2 or 3 days, and then they dropped down to like twice a week and then once a week.
Mhm.
But I was doing blood draws for 8 weeks. It took to get down to what they consider a negative HCG, which I'm pretty sure is less than 5,
Mhm.
what they consider negative. So it was a long process. I think it was about like 6 weeks of bleeding and then the 8 weeks of the blood draws. So it took some time, more time than I anticipated.
That's a long time. And, every woman is different. My numbers went down below 5 in 3 weeks. So mine was pretty quick. My HCGs were only around 600. But I will say for your numbers being around 1300,
Mhm.
that is a really long time for them
Yeah,
to increase.
yeah. I don't think my OB was anticipating it to take that long because she, kept saying like, okay, we got to be almost done. We got to be almost done. And then it was, nope, we got to go in again. We got to go in again. So yeah, I think the follow-up lab work is was probably like one of the hardest parts about it, because it's just that constant reminder, like, okay, this happened. Um, and having to go to the same clinic where other women are, pregnant, expecting a baby, and their HCG levels are going up.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, the follow-up blood work was really hard.
Yeah. Any woman listening to this, including myself, will most likely agree with you on that. It is
Mm-hmm.
so exhausting and overwhelming. And like you said, it's just a constant reminder of what you just endured and the trauma of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the bruises on your arms from the constant lab work. And it just, yeah, for me, that was the hardest part. And I
Yeah.
think yes, it was physically hard with the bruising and whatnot, but the mental aspect was far worse for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's so true. The physical part is uncomfortable. And I don't know about you, but I like my veins were getting like sore almost from all the blood draws,
Yeah.
and having to like switch back and forth. But yeah, the emotional piece of it all was definitely harder. Um, again, thoughts like, could I have done something different? Is this going to happen again? Thinking to the future. Yeah.
Have you had to have any sort of lab work since this whole ordeal for other reasons?
No, I haven't,
Okay.
which will be very interesting. I will have to have lab work at some point in the future if it, is triggering at all, reminding you of the lab work from the ectopic. But no, I've kind of been avoiding the doctor. I'm medically scarred. I don't want to engage in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can sympathize with that. That first time going back to the lab, which was for a non-ectopic reason, it was almost like all of the emotions came back. And even to this day, I mean, 4 years later, anytime I go to a lab or even see a lab, I just think back to my ectopic experience. It'll never go away. It'll be easier, of course.
Sure.
But it's crazy how much going through this journey impacts your life.
It does. It does. I mean, it impacts your life in more ways than I think you would think. It impacts relationships too. Everyone, they have different ideas of how they, best support you. And sometimes, people don't know what to say, so they don't say anything at all. And not saying anything is worse than saying the wrong thing, in my opinion. It impacts a lot for sure.
Did you lose any friendships?
I would say some relationships changed a little bit, just with how certain family members or certain friends chose to show up or not show up. It definitely strengthened a lot of relationships as well. Like, there's a lot of people that showed up in our lives, friends and family, who did our laundry for us, brought us dinner, like just were very, very, very sweet and very supportive. And it strengthened those relationships for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I know I say this often on the podcast when we talk about relationships, but going through this experience shows you who is truly there for you. And I mean, that goes with life in general. When you go through a hard time, those who show up for you just show you who's actually there for you and care and love and support.
Yeah. I know. Even recently, Josh sent me a reel on Instagram, and it was like how to help a loved one who's grieving and like what not to do or say. And I think the first thing was like, don't say like, let me know what I can do for you, because someone who's grieving, they don't know what they need.
Right.
So kind of taking that, like thinking about people in our lives when they're going through hard times, like, okay, let's just say we can drop off dinner Monday or Tuesday. Do you want lasagna or tacos? And like be super specific in what you can offer to help. Because someone grieving, they don't know what they need, and they don't want to feel like a burden by saying, oh yeah, can you please bring me dinner?
Right. That's such a good recommendation. That way they can't really say no. It's
right.
I want tacos on
Mhm.
Tuesday. That would
Right.
be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think, yeah, this experience really taught us how to better love those in our lives who are going through a hard time, whether it's, a pregnancy loss or an ectopic or the death of a loved one or, something else completely different. It definitely, it definitely helps you learn how to support people
Yeah,
better.
it does. It just changes your perspective on a lot of things.
Hmm.
And I think that is a positive that comes out of the experience. There's a lot of negatives,
Yeah,
but perspective is huge in life.
absolutely. Yeah.
Did you get anything in memory of your baby?
Yes, we did. So we didn't know the gender just because it was so early on, but we both had a pretty good intuition, I guess, that our baby was a girl. And so we named her. We
Mm.
named her Wren.
Aw,
And yeah, we have a little wren house outside on our tree
aw, that's so cute.
to remind us of her and the love that we, still have for her. Obviously, she was a little life that we created together, and yeah, we'll always remember her and always love her.
Yeah, that's really sweet. And that's a more unique thing that I've heard to do in memory. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun to be able to watch the birds, and I get excited when I see a wren.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. It's
Like,
almost like he's coming to say hi.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's been a really special way to remember her.
that is a special way.
Mhm.
It's really sweet. So I would love to end this podcast with your future plans. I know when we chatted prior to recording, you mentioned you and your husband have paused on trying to conceive for the right time. And
Mhm.
I know you have a couple things up and coming. So what's the next year look like for you?
Yeah. So we're about 9 months out right now at the recording of this podcast from the ectopic. So we've been, working on healing and have not tried to conceive another baby yet. We do have plans though. So I am going to be getting an HSG. It's the X-ray dye test that they put through your uterus and fallopian tubes to see if your tubes are healthy. It's something that they definitely recommend after having an ectopic. So I have that scheduled for May. So in about 3 months. So it'll be a full year post the ectopic pregnancy before we kind of jump back into this trying to conceive journey again. Um, and it's been hard to take, the time off from trying to grow our family, but I feel like it's been really healing. Um,
Yeah.
we've been able to I mean, I don't think you ever fully heal from something like this. You just, learn how to carry it better. And we've definitely learned how to carry it much, much better now than we would have, last year.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to getting that test done and um, seeing, if I can keep both my tubes. I'm hopeful that, they're both going to be healthy. And if not, we'll work with that when that time comes. But I am very much looking forward to getting back into trying to grow our family.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for you guys. And
Yeah.
I, of course, will keep you in my thoughts and sprinkle positivity your way.
Thank you.
I think it's great that you're being proactive and doing the HSG before the next step.
Yeah, I think it'll be good peace of mind going into trying again. And they say there's maybe some positive fertility effects from the test. I think it's mostly anecdotal, but yeah,
you just never know.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want, your listeners to know that you're not alone. This happens to women everywhere. 1 in 80 pregnancies that's quite a few pregnancies when you think of all the pregnancies that have happened in the history of our world. It happens, and it's hard. But you will get through it. You won't get over it. You will, you'll learn how to carry it with you.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. Your story is going to help a lot of women.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for having this podcast and this space for women to share their stories and listen to others' stories. It's very much needed.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for listening to the Ectopic Pregnancy Support Podcast. If you are looking for additional resources, head to ectopicpregnancysupport.com to learn more about my exclusive online support chat. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. See you next time.